声。In Asia, musical instruments with FreeReed technology have been known for more than 3,000 years, while in Europe this technology has only been known since the 18th century CE. In Europe, single-reed and double-reed instruments were known until the 18th century, but no FreeReed instruments, except for the mouth harp, which works with FreeReed technology, but it was seen more as a tuning tool than a musical instrument. The known reed techniques have been further developed. The first known FreeReed instrument in Europe was a keen from 1636. But this instrument was not yet recognized as a FreeReed instrument because not all components were available. Keen, national music instrument of Laos. In 1674, keen appears in the catalogue of the Royal Danish Museum. In the 18th century, some illustrations of Chinese mouth organs appeared in European music books, which were probably meant to represent a Chinese Sheng. Technical descriptions were missing or incorrect, and the illustrations were probably drawn with second-hand information, this leading to curious designs of instruments. The first concrete scientific and cultural information in Europe about an Asian FreeReed instrument was provided by Joseph Marie Amade in 1779. He describes in detail a Chinese Sheng with its FreeReed technique in his book. But it still took some time before this FreeReed technique of the Sheng was understood in Europe. 1780 is the date given by Schollers for the first FreeReed development in Europe. The Academy of Sciences in St. Petersburg announced a scientific competition in 1780. There were two questions to answer. Question 1. What is the nature and character of the vowel letters?
A, E, I, O, U.
Question 2. Is it not possible to build instruments according to organ pipes known as vox humana, and in that way produce the sound of the vowel letters? So they were looking for a way to produce the vowels with an instrument, possibly with a vox humana pipe. The vox humana is an organ pipe variant that has evolved from the invention of a new reed stop technique. At the beginning of the 16th century, the single reed technique was further developed in Europe into a new reed stop technique. This led to new organ pipes. The resonators for this new pipes were constantly developed to make the sound of existing instruments or new sounds as organ pipes. Christian Gottlieb Kratzenstein submitted a speaking machine for the competition in which he modified the technology of the vox humana pipes, or the stop reed pipes, that could produce the vowels, to answer question 2 of the competition. He published his work in Latin in 1780. Kratzenstein developed new FreeReed pipes, and the resonators were adapted to the pronunciation of the vowels. Kratzenstein probably worked together with the organ builder Franz Kirchner to build this speaking machine.
Christian Gottlieb Kratzenstein.
German natural scientist, physicist and university lecturer. Studied natural sciences in Halle, Germany in 1742, 1748 to 1752. Professor of mathematics and mechanics at the Russian Academy of Sciences in St. Petersburg, 1753 to 1786. University of Copenhagen, Professor of Experimental Physics, and Rector.
Franz Kirchner.
Organist and organ builder, possibly came from Bohemia. He worked in Copenhagen and came to St. Petersburg around the end of the 1770s. How and whether Kratzenstein and Kirchner actually worked together is still being discussed today. A source for their possible collaboration can be found in the Allgemeine Musikalische Zeitung from 1823. This magazine also writes that a Chinese organ work was the inspiration for the FreeReed invention. Other scholars suspect another source, where Kratzenstein might have learned about the FreeReed technique. Another magazine reports on a musician and musical instrument maker in St. Petersburg, Johann Wald from Bavaria, playing arias, minuets and short pieces, in full harmony on the lovely Chinese organ. As Sheng is described, Johann Wald is said to have served as a chamber musician at the court of St. Petersburg since the beginning of Empress Elizabeth's reign, and now lived on a retirement benefit. Kratzenstein or Kirchner could have met Johann Wald once in their lives in St. Petersburg and discussed his Sheng and the FreeReed technique. There is speculation about this, but no record of it. Some scholars also speculate that Kratzenstein was inspired by the Keen from 1674, which is in the Royal Danish Museum. Another source and inspiration for Kratzenstein could have been the description and drawing of the Sheng by Amiot. Whether a Sheng or a Keen was actually the inspiration or template for the newly developed FreeReed technique has not yet been clarified. In any case, this competition is the first documented evidence of a new FreeReed technique being developed in Europe. Sadly, there are no exact records of what the speaking machine looked like. The machine itself has disappeared or was destroyed in a fire. I was able to find 3 sources that give maybe an indication of the layout. Described with Speaking Machine Kratzenstein. The third source shows another instrument, which should probably have great similarities with the speaking machine from Kratzenstein. However, based on these 2 models, I have designed 2 fictional speaking machine models, with the resonators for the vowels on top. Kratzenstein continued his work at the university in Copenhagen, while Kirchner became organist in St. Petersburg. Korsnick presented a portative in 1783, in which he was the first to install FreeReeds in an organ. Possibly represents portative organ by Korsnick, with FreeReed technology, 1783. 1788, it is said, Korsnick showed his organ innovation to the musical instrument maker Vogler, at a concert in St. Petersburg.
Georg Joseph Vogler.
German composer, organist, bandmaster, priest, music teacher and music theorist. Vogler was enthusiastic about the new technology and wanted to have it installed in his instruments and in church organs. In 1790, Korsnick sent his assistant Rackwitz to Vogler. Vogler and Rackwitz installed the new FreeReed technique in a newly developed instrument, the Vogler Orchestrion. In addition to the Orchestrion, Vogler and Rackwitz also installed the FreeReed technique in several church organs in Europe. Vogler's work, studies and travels took him all over Europe, where he also spread the new FreeReed technique with his Orchestrion, or by having it built into church organs. Rackwitz was given a privilege as an instrument maker in Stockholm, in 1796. While the new FreeReed technique began to spread in Europe, it was almost unnoticed or ignored that another FreeReed instrument became known in Europe. During a longer stay in Vienna, Vogler installed his FreeReed pipes in the Kobler organ. Vogler showed the new FreeReed technique to Johann Nepomuk Mälzel in Vienna. Vogler and Mälzel worked in Vienna and Paris at the same time for several years. Mälzel installed the new FreeReed technology in his musical automata, Panharmonikon. Mälzel presented his Panharmonikon in Paris in 1805 to 1807. In 1811, a Panharmonikon was sent to a company in Boston. American organ builder William Goodrich was commissioned to arrange and demonstrate the instrument in the USA. The Panharmonikon was probably the first instrument with the new FreeReed technology in America. 1810 Franz Gabriel Joseph Greny produced after several years of experimenting with FreeReed technology an Orgue expressif. Exhibited in Paris in 1810. In 1816 Greny received a patent for a house organ with flute pipes and FreeReed pipes. No more organs by Greny exist, but by his pupil Aeoline Müller. Friedrich Rochlitz reports that he had already developed a new variant of the FreeReed technique in 1809. He writes that he has made a further development of Vogler's FreeReed pipes. At the request of the music magazine editors, he submits drawings of his developments. (1812) Germany. Bernhard Eschenbach chose a different way of further developing the FreeReed technique. After several years of experimentation, he developed a way to make the springs of the mouth harp vibrate by blowing on them instead of tapping them. He then tried to integrate the reeds he had developed into an instrument with keys and bellows. In 1812 he made a prototype and called the instrument
Aeoline Clavaeoline.
Two drawings of Sheng, without reference to the FreeReed technique, to find in Manners and Customs in Art, by Giulio Ferrario. Sheng, to find in Abraham Reed's Cyclopedia. Anton Häckl developed the Physharmonica in Vienna, patent in 1821. Häckl used the new FreeReed technique without the tuning devices. The tuning is done by gluing on wax. The tuning with wax is very interesting because the FreeReeds of the Sheng are also tuned with wax. Did Häckl know about the FreeReed technique of the Sheng? Häckl's tuning with wax was quickly replaced by new patents. Häckl also developed a small Physharmonica. In 1824, Anton Reinlein receives a patent privilege for the manufacture or improvement in the manufacture of the harmonica in the Chinese method. I found an Anton Reinlein instrument on the internet where the label reads, "Improved harmonica." Thus, improvement of the harmonica in Chinese style refers to a Physharmonica by Häckl. (1821) Report on a Sheng by Ernst Chladni. Chladni analyzed a Sheng which he had received all known. At the beginning Chladni tells of the description of the Sheng by Amiot. Then he explains the construction and functioning of the Sheng. The first attempts to produce European FreeReeds combined the stop reed technique from the 16th century with the FreeReed technique. The question of what inspired this development phase, if it came from an Asian FreeReed instrument, such as a Keen or Sheng, can probably no longer be answered today. This phase gave rise to new instruments, such as a portative with FreeReeds, the Orchestrion, the Panharmonikon, and the Orgue expressif. There were also attempts to further develop the mouth harp as FreeReed instrument. In the second phase, the studies on the FreeReed technique of the Sheng were known almost everywhere. The Sheng became part of all music history books, and some people in Europe even own a Sheng. In the second phase, new FreeReed techniques without tuning devices were developed, similar to the Sheng FreeReeds. While the Sheng FreeReeds consist of one piece and require an additional resonator to sound, the new European FreeReeds consist of more parts and can sound without a resonator. The FreeReeds of the Sheng vibrate in both wind directions. While the new European FreeReeds are only vibrate with air from one direction. One of the first instruments with this technique was the Physharmonica. By removing tuning devices, it was possible to build smaller instruments, which led to the development of instruments like the harmonica, the accordion, or the concertina. The Symphonium, by Charles Wheatstone. Nordskeng by Reichstein. Shows how it was now possible to fit many tones into a very small space. Wheatstone and Reichstein experimented with the Sheng technique and created these two beautiful instruments. A wonderful symbiosis of the Chinese Sheng combined with the new European FreeReed technique. The technology continued to develop, and new instruments such as the Serafini in England, the harmonium in France, or the melodeon or American organ in the USA were created. However, the newly developed FreeReed technique in Europe is not a copy of the FreeReeds found in the Sheng, it is rather a fusion of the stop reed technique from the 16th century, combined with the FreeReed technique used by the Sheng, resulting in a new technology. An instrument that functions according to the principles of the Sheng has not been built in Europe. The mythological aspects of the Sheng had no influence on the new developments.
Sheng